Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between the Rider of Rohan leading the forces of the High Elves up against Pug Power and the Lizardmen forces. Should be a good fun game. This is a matchup which I think slightly favours the Lizardmen, but not so matched that it can't be really nice and competitive. So for the force of the High Elves, they've gone for a relatively traditional style of play here, which is coming in with that Plague of Rust caster, although they are also bringing Found Transmutation, and then a bucket ton of archers in the secondary line to really rain fire down upon some of those large dinosaurs and heavily armoured Saurus warriors. In the front lines, we have spearmen guarding the slight flanks here, and then white lions dotted all the way along. Hewing their mighty axes, they should be able to cleave apart that scaly skin. Can do rather well in this matchup. I think they're quite a niche unit, but in this matchup and against dwarves and so forth, they can be really quite powerful. In the back lines, we do have a couple of silver helms with shields, very good at running over chameleon skinks, holding enemy cavalry in place, although they will struggle to win those engagements, but very good using them defensively here to protect that central core, which can be pivotal to victory. Up in the skies, we do have a Star Dragon. Now, Star Dragon is very nice here because it can go toe-to-toe with a lot of the large creatures, and that's something High Elves really tend to struggle with. Yes, you have a Rustcaster. You load the armor on a Stegodon and all your archers shoot it, but then what happens when that Stegodon simply walks through your front line and starts feasting upon the souls of your archers? Well, now you have a gigantic Star Dragon to float down and help protect them, so really nice pick there coming in by the Rider of Rohan. Leading his forces, we have Tyrion, coming in with all his buffs, Sunfang and all that good stuff. You don't get to see Tyrion terribly often, but a fantastic duelist as he darts up and down his lines here, doing his best King Theoden impression. For the force of the Lizardmen, we have a bucket ton of chameleon skinks dotted all the way through the front line, looking to pepper down the enemy from range, as well as a load of skink cohorts with javelins. Big fan of this combination. Elves in general tend to have quite a small health pool and be rather squishy, so all the javelins and blowpipes possible always add up. On the flanks we have some Cold One Spear Riders, and in the central battle line we have red-crested skinks, including the cohort of Sotek, supported by the might of Lord Mazdamundi. Coming in, of course, with his Ruination, Banishment, Apotheosis, Curse of Midnight Winds, Harmonic Convergence, and the Net of Amantok. He's very, very expensive here, but on top of the mighty Zlak, he should be able to do some pretty decent damage. Let's give Zlak a little neck rub just to let him know that he's all cool. Over on the left-hand side as well, we have the Pohawk Sentinels, as well as some Tyrion Riders looking to support them. Going to be pretty pivotal that those guys get in the back line, drop those rocks on those archers, and shut them down quite quickly. Chameleon Skinks have noticed Tyrion, and they're opening up fire already, doing those pesky little blow darts into him where possible. And here they go. Well, it looks like they're actually just darted out of range. Rather wise retreated there by Tyrion, but wherever he goes, there is more and more chameleon skinks. Really early Ruination coming down, and this is a huge risk. If it does go the right way, no! All three going in the wrong direction. It would have been nice to wipe out a unit immediately, but I think it is better to leave those guys slightly bunched up before you do start to engage. Star Dragon is falling back here as Pterodon Riders start to float around the left-hand side. He doesn't want to get involved with the chameleon skinks because there's no healing on this build. And a big fat Sunfang goes down the line on those skink cohorts, annihilating that unit. My god, Tyrion already up to 68 kills, darts headlong into the back line, starts to go toe-to-toe with the might of Lord Mazdamundi. Those horses kind of being a little bit stuck here. He does have his buffs on, but red-crested skinks making it real tough work, and Mazdamundi is now going to get to slap him, but those white lines are able to push through the gap that was formed up by Tyrion himself. Banishment is going to be going down these archers. No, it's cancelled in fact, so he can pop some of his own buffs. Curse of Midnight Wind is followed up by Found Transmutation there. Found Transmutation hitting Lord Mazdamundi, but the curse lowering the stats of the dragon and other such units. Big Banishment now going to be coming down on the archers. Should be able to rip and tear those guys apart in bloody puffs of magic and blood. And over on the far side, Cold One Spear Riders are dealing rather effectively with the Silver Helms. Likewise on the other side, more Cold One Spear Riders just dealing with the Elvish Cavalry, driving it from the field. And now that the Lizardmen have gained mobility, the Pterodons start to swoop into the back lines and the Cavalry can start getting real aggressive here. But Tyrion, he's certainly got a trick or two up his sleeve, and him combined with that Star Dragon are hunting that slant booty. Coming for Lord Mazdamundi and Zlak, who's desperately trying to retreat to pockets of safety where he can, alongside the cohort of Sotek and other such units. Also he needs to get these Cold One Spear Riders coming over here. Looks like rock drops have come down by the Tyrion Riders as well as the Pohawk Sentinels, but they've completely missed at the moment, and the archers are now going to start counter-firing back. But chameleons are here to support, and with the overwhelming poisonous blow darts and javelins coming down, I don't know if these archers are going to be able to hold the line too much longer. A well-timed Apotheosis does go down on Lord Mazdamundi. Bit of a mistake overcasting it because it actually extends cast range Doesn't increase kind of like any form of healing or duration or any of that kind of good stuff. But of course, you do these things in a bit of a panic, as a big net of Amantok does come down, allowing the Cold One Spear Riders to wrap their way into the battle, hopping onto that Star Dragon, who's getting buffed right now by Stand Your Ground, and those Cold One Spear Riders doing really good work here, just slaughtering all of these troops, also allowing Mazdamundi to escape with the support of some red-crested skinks. Pterodons do dive down into combat. One unit has been forced off, but not before the Pohawk Sentinels help deal with one unit and shut down the other. And we have even more Dino Cavalry starting to come over now into the main engagement. You can see the Star Dragon is relatively healthy for the late game, likewise is Tyrion. But there is a bucket ton of Chameleon Skinks still left on the field, and they have relatively high ammunition still, at least for this stage in the battle. Down here, more red-crested skinks are training really cost-effectively up against the white lines because of the poison and support from the chameleon skinks. And things are looking a little bleak now for the High Elf forces, with the Mage of Metal being surrounded and dealt with. There's no more final transmutations to come in, which have been so nice in this blob here, and no more Plague of Rust. That Star Dragon, though, it hasn't given up just yet, and it is slumberously floating its way through the skies to come in with a big breath attack, catching Mazdamundi and Zlak, doing some big damage and then going in for the kill. However, Chameleon Skinks are nearby to support. Only one round of ammunition left. Shoulder of the Old Ones does go down, catching both these units, but another Sunfang is coming down. Tyrion is surrounded, but he ain't outgunned. Big Flamestorm coming through, obliterating the infantry and doing big damage as well to those Cold One Spear Riders, despite the protection from the shield of the Old Ones. And it looks like he may be able to buckle this part of the Lizardmen formation. Cold Ones running for their lives, but the Major Metal is gone, and the Chameleon Skinks continue to pepper shots in. Star Dragon decides to fall back. He doesn't really want to duel Mazdamundi one-on-one at the moment, particularly when he's getting poisoned, so he is trying to come back to his master's call of Tyrion, where these two mighty beasts can fight together side by side up against their lizard oppressors. In the distance, we have some spearmen chasing off some skink cohorts. They probably want to be coming back there and helping to deal with chameleon skinks where possible. There's also some Cold One Spear Riders just waiting in the wings to try and slay any Silver Helms or rallying units who do indeed come back. Likewise, Pterodon Riders are just chasing down people who are running for their lives. Star Dragon has now been broken with no healing on the field. He's really going to suffer here, down to just 500 health, being escorted away by those Cold One Spear Riders. And it looks like he is indeed shattered here. Just blow dart after blow dart, and the mighty beast crumples into the sand. Looking to die here, I'm afraid. Not a good end for the Star Dragon, but it did a good job chasing down Mazdamundi, and Tyrion does stand, for the most part, completely alone. But with his buffs coming down, here's still a mighty warrior, and his steed is like a lightning underneath him, bursting across the battlefield, hunting down Mazdamundi. You can run, but you can't hide. Big javelins currently sticking out of his horses as more blow darts do come in, and Tyrion is completely surrounded by this point, but he does have a trick up his sleeve, coming in the form, of course, of that big burst heal he can get from the Heart of Avalon, returning 1.8k hit points. It looks like he does get the burst, but unfortunately he has broken by this point, which often is the way. Now, is there any way that the High Elves can indeed save him, so he can come back and maybe beat down Lord Mazdamundi? Well, we have some speed in the distance, force back skink cohorts, we have some white lines rallying as well, but that is about it. Some Silver Helms, 18 of them, regrouped by the Mage of Metal, are starting to sound the charge one last time, coming in to meet their fate up against the Cold One Cavalry, and that is a horrible clash, but they go all the way through, slaughtering the Cold Ones, and continuing their charge in a desperate attempt to save Tyrion. The Cold Ones down to pretty much the last dino. In come the Pohawk Sentinels, but Tyrion has managed to rally. A final transmutation does go down, but unfortunately, really misplayed there. It went off after the Cold One Cavalry had already fled. He needed to drop it now on all of this big blob, but I suppose it was a little bit too little too late as the Major Metal did start to flee. However, Mazdamundi is having a rough time. Tyrion is a beast of a combatant, and yes, Slack hits like an absolute truck on steroids, but it's pretty hard to hit Tyrion. He's got very good melee defense, a real specialist duelist. However, these little chameleons certainly are making things easy for him. It looks like another Sunfang shall be coming down just as those Pterodons do land, and that rocks through, doing some nice damage, trying to clear out the chaff to allow Tyrion to really duel Mazdamundi one-on-one. Plague of Rust does go down, minus 60 armor, as it looks like the mage came back. If only at that final transmutation it would be enough to kill Lord Mazdamundi and maybe break off a few of these units, allowing Tyrion to carry the day, but he used that magic early on, and the Plague of Rust Mazdamundi simply going to fall back and let Tyrion have to wade through the chameleon skinks. And looking at, there's still decent ammunition as well on this unit and some on the last unit to continue to poison him down and do some good damage. Funniest ruination of all time almost coming in. Used to try and take out one model, but at this point in the battlefield, you may well try to do such things. Command Skinks do dive forward with the help of the Tyrons, and they do manage to shatter that Mage of Metal. Tyrion now truly stands alone. Mazdamundi wants the beef. He wants all the smoke coming in, whipping that tail back and forth, doing some lovely damage to Tyrion, who's suffering a little bit here. 1000 HP, Mazdamundi down to 1.3k, but he now does have the support of course, all his allies, whereas the, I want to say prince? I'm not sure if Tyrion is a prince, but the defender of Ulf 1 does unfortunately have no fellow troops. Colin Spearites come in for a little bit of vengeance here, looking to try to slaughter down Tyrion for the damage wreaked upon them by those silver helms. Terran Riders swoop in, Lord Mazdamundi just vibing in the back. Cold-Blooded has been popped on himself to keep himself nice and topped up. Balance power isn't crazy out of this yet. Tyrion is a very, very powerful duelist, and he could certainly kill Lord Mazdamundi in one-to-one combat. It looks like we do have some spearmen on the flanks, but they were used to chase off troops. They really need to be back here saturating in, helping Tyrion, because if they were, I think he would have a fantastic chance of winning this, but without them, it looks like he shall crumble. Should the Odd Ones comes down, he is danger low and terrified. The elf flees before the might of Zlak the Mighty, true ruler of all of Lustria and the universe. Tyrion manages to regain his senses, only to flee once more, and down the mighty warrior goes. Awesome to see him in action though. It's a character I don't get to see terribly often, and he performed really well. Massive shout out to Rider of Rohan for showcasing Tyrion here, a true Lord of War indeed, and for Pug Power, proving that the power of the Pug certainly is nothing to be messed with. I wonder if that's Pugnabon playing under a different name. I'm not too sure. Well played to these two champs. As you can see, Tyrion performed incredibly. 237 kills, 4,574 damage value. My god, those Sunfangs were expertly crafted just to delete infantry, and then he was allowed, of course, to spend the majority of the game chasing down key targets like Mazdamundi. But Big Zlak and Mazda are pretty thick toads to take down, and they managed to just about withstand the carnage Tyrion unleashed upon them. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. We will get to the damage dealt and damage value of all the units in just a second. But if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a big fat thumbs up, as well as subscribing if you haven't already for more Total War Warhammer content. Also, if you are subscribed, make sure you still are, because I did get a message a little while ago from a few people who said for some reason that YouTube had unsubscribed them. So just double check if you want to keep up to date where possible. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below. What was your MVP? What was your favourite moment of the battle? Mine certainly was those Sunfangs coming in as Tyrion surrounded, trying to cut down the dinosaurs on either flank, but Mazdamundi standing strong. Down below in the description as well, you will find links to my Patreon where you can support the channel. Massive shout out to all my Patreons. Rider of Rohan is in fact one of them, a true champion and duck of the peoples. And there's also links down there to my Discord where you can get involved in the Total War community. You can submit replays to me and all that kind of good stuff. But on to the awesome stuff now of the kills and so forth. So, the Mage of Metal performed relatively well. 800 damage value, not too shabby. Some well-placed Plague of Rust as well coming in useful. I love the combination with the archers. It's old school, but certainly rather effective, and that's why we still see it even this late into the game's meta. The one problem Rider of Rohan had was the mage kept breaking, so I understand the want to pop that Funnel Transmutation as early as possible, but if he had managed to save it and pop it instead of that Plague of Rust, the game could have ended very different, because Mazdamundi's finished. All of a sudden, the leadership on the Lizardmen tank, and Tyrion can seal the deal with one more tasty Sunfang. But alas, it was not to be. White Lions basically got butchered for the most part. Likewise, the Spearmen just come up against so much range pressure, and I think this is a really powerful build from Pug Power here. Going range heavy with the Lizardmen against Elvish forces tends to do a relatively big favour. Maybe not the Wood Elves so much, but the other two for sure. And you see the Archers as well really struggling due to the fact those banishments can come down, Ruinations, Pterodons. It's really hard to protect your back line, but I love the Star Dragon pick. 1.5k damage value, certainly not too shabby, and it's a really good back line clear as well to protect those archers, but obviously the weakness without having the caster of life and going for the metal instead can kind of come back and bite you a little bit with such investments. So the Helms as well did a decent job holding back the cavalry as long as they could to try and allow the archers to carry the day. Lord Mazdamundi, an absolute wrecking ball as always, 1.8k damage value, and very good spells, particularly the Shield of the Old Ones were really well placed by Pug Power. Red Cross the Skinks did really well across the board, particularly the cohort of Sotek with their 1.2k damage value. Very good at killing cavalry models as well, so I like seeing them in a more kite-centric build like this, where you have so much range in the form of the Skink cohorts, performed okay, as well as the Chameleon Skinks, who across the board performed amazing. 920 damage value, 790, 1.1k, 1.1k once more. Cavalry performed really well, 900 damage value on one unit, 1.7k on the other, winning their fights up against the High Elf Cavalry on the wings, before swooping in to surround the dragon, surround Tyrion, and help Mazdamundi out, because he was looking really beat up by the mid-stage of that battle. Likewise, Pterodon Riders, I've, for weeks, years even by this point, been singing the praises of Pterodon Riders. I think they fulfill a really nice role in the Lizardmen roster. The Pohawk Sentinels here, 1.2k damage value. Beautiful work by them. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed. Until next time, peace. And as always, stay awesome.